Harlequin Audio is proud to bring you An Honorable Seduction, a Westmoreland legacy novel from Harlequin Desire, by Brenda Jackson, performed by James Cavenaugh. Prologue. The Naval Amphibious Base, Coronado, San Diego, California. What kind of trouble have you gotten into? David Holloway, known to his Navy SEAL teammates as Flipper, glanced at the four men surrounding him. They were like brothers to him. More than once they'd risked their lives for each other, and they would continue to have each other's backs, on duty or off. That bond was what accounted for the concerned looks on their faces. He wondered how they'd known he'd been summoned to the Admiral's office. "Let's hope I'm not in any trouble, Mac," Flipper said, rubbing a hand down his face. He had to admit, he was wondering what was going on, just like they were. Usually, you were only summoned to a meeting with the Admiral when you were getting reprimanded for some reason, and he never got into trouble. At least, he rarely did. As the son of a retired SEALs commanding officer and the youngest of 5 brothers, all Navy SEALs, he knew better. "Maybe there's an event on the base and he wants you to escort his daughter now that you're the single one among us," Coop said, grinning. Flipper didn't grin back. They'd seen Georgiana Martin, the Admiral's 23-year-old daughter. She was beautiful, but they'd heard the horror stories from other teammates who'd been ordered to take her out on dates. According to them, those evenings had been the dates from hell. The young woman was spoiled rotten, selfish as sin, and had an attitude that sucked. That's why Flipper didn't find Coop's comment at all amusing. He hoped that wasn't why the Admiral wanted to see him. It didn't surprise Flipper that it was Mac who'd asked if Flipper had gotten into trouble. Thurston McRoy, codename Mac, was older than the other 4 men on the team, who had all started their careers as SEALs around the same time. Mac had been a SEAL 5 years before the rest of them. Mac seemed to like to think he was the big brother looking out for them, almost like he figured they couldn't take care of themselves. He was forever giving them advice, even when they didn't ask for it. In addition to Mac and Flipper, their SEAL team included Brisbane Westmoreland, codename Bane, Gavin Blake, whose codename was Viper, and Laramie Cooper, whose codename was Coop. Flipper checked his watch. "Since I have a couple of hours to spare before meeting with the Admiral, let's grab something to eat," he suggested. "Sounds good to me," Bane said. Less than an hour later, Flipper and his 4 teammates shared burgers, fries, and milkshakes at one of the most popular eating places on base. They decided to sit outside, at one of the cafe tables in the front, instead of inside where it was crowded, since it was such a beautiful May day. No one brought up his meeting with the Admiral again, or the notion of him taking the Admiral's daughter on a date. He was glad. Instead, the guys had more important things to talk about, namely, their families. Bane's wife, Crystal, had given birth to triplets last year, and he had new photos to share, so they passed Bane's cell phone around. Viper's wife, Layla, was expecting with only a few months to go before Gavin Blake IV would be born. Viper was excited about becoming a father, of course. Like Bane, Mac had plenty of photos to share. He was married and the father of 4. And Coop had a 2-year-old son he hadn't known about until he'd run into his old girlfriend about 6 months ago. They'd reconnected, gotten married, and were now a happy family. Earlier in the week, the teammates had gotten word from their commanding officer that next week was the start of a 4-month leave. For Flipper, that meant heading home to Dallas, and he couldn't wait. His mother had a birthday coming up, and he was glad he would be home to celebrate. "I don't care what plans you all are making for your leave, just as long as you remember my mom's birthday celebration. I understand you not showing up, Viper, with the baby on the way. The rest of you guys, no excuses." "We hear you," Bane said, grinning, "and we will be there." When Viper ordered another hamburger, everyone teased him about being the one to eat
Sample complete. Ready to continue?